Okay, good morning everyone. We'll make a start. Thanks for joining us. I think we've got most people who wanted to attend the session on the call. Great to have everyone join us. Today we've got Paul, Woody, myself and David welcome you to this senior managed event hosted by TA6 and Shapemaster. Just briefly, as way of an introduction, just get the housekeeping out of the way. Everyone's on mute. I'll hopefully unmute Woody and David at the appropriate times, and Ben from Grimsby is going to be joining as well. As I mentioned earlier, if you joined, video is optional. You can start your videos or you can switch it off. If anyone's having trouble with the display, if you're on an iPad or a mobile device, you can swipe to see different display options. If you're on a laptop, top right-hand side, there's display settings and you should be able to change the screen, but you should have a full screen view of my slide at the moment, and everybody's pictures down the right-hand side. Please feel free to get involved with the chat, ask questions throughout. We will have a Q&A at the end, which I'll host with Woody and David. So the chat function is typically at the bottom of your screen. Some options it is at the top, but typically at the bottom there's a menu option and you can enter the chat function there. The session has been recorded, so if you have got colleagues who wanted to attend but couldn't, we'll be sharing this afterwards. So we will share the recording, and thanks for attending. And if you have any problems, technical otherwise, please use the chat function. I'll try and monitor that throughout and help where I can. So David and Woody are going to lead us through the session. I'll switch them on in a minute. Today we've got a really exciting hour hopefully planned. We've got Woody talking about a new normal. I know a lot of people don't like that phrase, but we will get into what it means to be operating in the current circumstances we find ourselves in. And then we've got Ben joining us. Very grateful for Ben to give up his time today to join us just to explain how Links Inspire have got involved and opened up their suite. David will take over and talk about some of the research and health benefits that Shapemaster themselves have been exploring over the last 6 months, but over a wider time frame than that as well. And then Woody will wrap up the session just with some marketing tips. He says he's got more than 5 for you, so hopefully we'll see how that goes. So if I hand over to Woody to get us started, let's see if this works. Woody, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming through.
Can you see my desktop, John? Are we there? So
yeah.
Let's just share that. We in?
Yes, we're good to go.
Okay, thank you, John, and good morning, everybody. I'm never sure what day it is. I think with the whole lockdown COVID journey, I know it's a weekend, I think, when I'm not on a Teams or webinar call, but a lot of familiar faces there and some people that I don't know. And I know some of you have been on some webinars that I've done throughout lockdown, but really looking at this phrase, the new normal, and to share some things that we've seen. I did notice, John, that you kindly put 2 really young pictures of me and David on there, so thanks for that. And yeah, really great to get some questions at the end from you. We want this to be as interactive as possible, so try not to do death by PowerPoint, but we'll really give you some content, some passion of what we've seen. And this can relate specifically for the toning, your wellness hub, your feel good suite, your Shapemaster facility, whatever you call it. And there's lots of different brand names. And I know some of you are looking, some of the people on the session are looking at getting your own suite in the future potentially, but it can work. The methodology really works for your mainstream fitness as well. So, and the key really is that this whole thing of the new normal, and through lockdown, as John said, we really hated this phrase. We were getting annoyed by it, but actually I think the big message for me today is how you embrace it and what it stands for, because 100% things are not the same as they were before. Every sector, every person individually, whether you realize it or not, you are different, and your sector and your business are different because of this global pandemic and what's happened in this country. Leisure and fitness are 100% different than they were before. And the message I want to give to you is to embrace that, to embrace the fact that you have an opportunity to be different and not to drift back into some of the old habits that we had before. And this slide here of burying your head in the sand and hoping that actually nothing's changed. Operationally, you guys, it will be massively different. We're open on restricted opening. Certain facilities aren't open properly yet. You're controlling access. We've got all the COVID standards, but I've already started to see people marketing their business and their brand and position it in the same way they were doing before lockdown. We had probably a meeting about 6 weeks ago, and I was really challenging the team within TA6 and Alliance on what we were going to do for our clients. And John said to me, he said, "Woody, you sound like you think that the sector was broken before lockdown." And I'd never thought about that before, but actually I think it was. And the traditional leisure model of selling loads of memberships and accepting that a high percentage of those were sleepers and that didn't attend, that we generally gave a poor member journey to a lot of customers, and that the majority of our customers didn't actually achieve any results. Now I know people do, and we have people that come regularly, but we've kind of accepted that as a sector. And I remember John saying a year ago, all it would take would be another big bank collapse or something major, and what would happen to those sleepers? Well, we've had that big event, and now the pressure, what we're seeing at the moment on Club Live and figures is huge. So I do think the leisure sector, fitness-wise, was broken, but I don't think the Shapemaster or your toning suite was. I had a really positive and chat with Ben yesterday, who's going to talk to you about Lincoln, and really got inspired by what he was telling me. And that it doesn't sound like a broken product. It sounds like a commitment to service and making a difference to a group of people that need help. So I think we can learn a lot from the actual Tony Suite Wellness Hub model for our normal fitness offering as well. So I'm going to share that with you. So don't keep calm because nothing's changed. Loads has changed, and you need to embrace that. Of course, operationally, things are crazy and your head will be focused on that. But in the background, what's your new normal and how are you going to be different? And linked to that, I really want to know why things have changed. I want to share my thoughts with you on what we've seen customers have gone through, your customers, what your local community have gone through, and how they're specifically feeling now. Now we've reopened, now we're back, now there are local lockdowns happening again. Why are we different, and how can you embrace that? Now, but before I jump into that, I want to share something I did on a couple of webinars about how your reopening strategy. And I highlighted a problem that I felt the industry had ignored for a while. And if you've seen this, I don't apologize for that because I think it's really relevant. If you haven't, I hope this will help. But on that screen in front of you now are 1,000 people. Imagine you've got a site with 1,000 members, 1,000 customers. The challenge is the industry's always seen them for a while as just a number: sales, Club Live, cancellations, yield. We see them as, and we report numbers. The big chains certainly don't see them as individuals. Now that's difficult when you might have 1, 2, 5, 10, 20,000 members. Some organizations have, the big groups have hundreds of thousands of members. But they are all individuals, and they've all had an individual story that they've been through in terms of the whole lockdown COVID journey. Some, the actual virus has touched their lives through losing people or being poorly themselves. Some, their jobs have gone, they've been made redundant, the businesses local to them are collapsing. That some may have actually connected with their family more than they've ever done before, but they've all got stories. The key with your toning suite or your Shapemaster facility is it's a smaller amount of people. It's 400, 470, I think, Lincoln, you guys have got, Ben might correct me. The average site's probably got 250, 300 members. So it is possible to connect with those people and embrace their story, but not just treat them as a number. And then we looked at what the mindset would be as we started to open up. And I shared some figures pre us unfreezing everybody, that we'd seen a lot of good organisations had lost 25% of their members already. They were expecting 40% of their members to come back. We've seen, I've been speaking to some of the big collection companies in the UK who do more collections than anybody else. And the stats that I've heard is that 60% on average of people's members prior to lockdown are now paying. 60%. So 40% have stopped paying, but only 45% of those 60% have been back in. So actually that 40% of customers that are ready to rock probably wasn't far off, that we were not predicting. We just put a figure in there. But it'd be good for you to compare your stats now. Who has come back? Then you have this percentage of people that might be paying now that are in these three categories. They want to come back, but not yet. They've checked out, they've cancelled, they're not coming back. And in the next couple of banks runs, they're going to cancel. And then there are the people that are unsure, that they have health risks, that they're worried about, they're concerned about cleanliness and standards, the uncertainty around their jobs. The one thing I have noticed though with the Shapemaster facilities, and Ben will back this up, is actually the sites that have opened have really seen a lot of their customers from an older demographic that we thought wouldn't come back, want to come back. It's kind of a little bit of like that war spirit of no, you know. I heard a couple of comments of, I haven't got, you know, I've only got X amount of years left. I'm going to get back in. I miss it. I miss the feel of the suite, of being with the people, the staff, and I want to get back. But what you need to have as a business is a strategy for each of these key areas, and treat people individually. I don't want to steal Ben's thunder, but I think one of the things he said is that they phoned all of their customers. Wow. And he'll share that with you in a bit of how that's worked. But you can do that. Definitely connect with those people to get them back in. But they're not a number. Everyone's an individual, and you have to embrace that. It's a crucial part of your strategy going forward. They're not just a stat or a figure on your KPIs. This was the journey I talked about that we'd be going through, of getting ready, T-2, getting your staff ready, your standards ready, then the big unfreeze of memberships before we open. And in the middle of that, there'd be this chaos of customers having lots of questions. So we've been through that journey, and you're now open to some extent, or now starting to shut again potentially. But every one of our customers that we've seen out there wanted to fire off acquisition really quickly, trying to get new sales in because they were concerned about the people, the amount of people that hadn't come back. So, you know, it'd be good to get some feedback from you guys on how that's going. And, you know, are you selling lots of memberships still? How many have left? But specifically for the Shapemaster demographic, we were concerned that those people wouldn't come back because of safety, but they need to be reassured. They need to be given that confidence that you are going to have your standards in check. And I think it's quite easy to do within that small environment. I love this slide. I love the picture. It's time to break free from the old way of operating and embrace the journey the customers have been on. And actually, there has never been a more important time to be healthy. And that age group that generally you're 50, 60 plus that fit into a toning suite demographic, it's really important that that age group are fit and healthy and active, both mentally and physically active. And the impact on being healthy, I think it was a stat that came out that we looked, that you're 48% more likely to die of COVID if you catch it, if you're clinically obese, if you're overweight. If you've got strong lung health and strong heart health, the impact on you getting through COVID, if you get it in this older demographic, the percentages are dramatically higher. So it's really important we get a group of people that probably wouldn't exercise normally to exercise and embrace that, and also feel connected. So what I wanted to share with you to help your strategy when you go back to the ranch and talk to your team is, how has the whole COVID journey, lockdown, the virus, the pandemic, affected customers, and specifically around the demographic of people that would use a toning facility? But first is, a lot of people feel isolated and they're worried about leaving their home. They have been isolated and they're desperate to maybe connect to people, but there's that debate of whether it's safe. But reaching out to your customers that you had beforehand and making contact with them, seeing how they are, seeing what their journey's been, and giving them confidence that they can come back in through taster sessions, online videos to show the standards, testimonials from customers is really, really important. And then as customers do come back, getting that validation stamp from your members to give you testimonials, maybe to do video to share that we're back and we're really enjoying it, and we want other customers to make a comeback and come back. But people are feeling wary about whether they do that. So you need to embrace that, you know, how they're feeling and what will tick that box to give them confidence to come back. People expect clean standards. And I think the leisure sector have absolutely smashed this. I think we really have stepped up to the plate, and I'm constantly trawling social channels and looking to see if there's negativity about operators, but I think we've really nailed this, and I think you have to maintain that and showcase that you've got the standards right. And if you're coming into the suite and seeing people that we've got standards sorted, showcase that. You know, it gives people confidence. If you get that wrong, it will spin. But I think we've smashed that. So thank you to all the operators for getting that right. I think it's awesome. This is something I'm really passionate about generally from a whole, let's get in the country to bounce back, is that I think customer service has become sterile and clinical. And actually, there's kind of like an excuse that, oh, that's due to COVID. Customer service levels generally out there seem to be dropping. You can't get through to anybody because of COVID. We haven't got staff. When you come in, service levels feel rude. They don't feel connected. I had my service done at BMW 2 weeks ago, which was normally brilliant. It was appalling. Every shop I go, business, it just feels flat and sterile. If you can go against that, if people are seeing that, and that actually when they come to your facilities still, that there is a willingness from your staff to deliver a certain level of service, your brand will win. Don't use the excuse due to COVID. I know that you could, there's probably a real direct line that you can do that, but embrace the fact that everyone else is pretty poor at the moment. Step up, showcase the fact that you want to connect, even through a mask, and there are techniques to do that. But don't make it sterile and clinical, because people won't come back and you'll lose people. Then there's the big question on value for money. Were we broken before? There were a lot of people that were prepared to accept to pay a membership and not go. That has changed. Those people are not going to carry on with a frozen option for you if they're not attending. We're seeing that nationally, that if people weren't attending beforehand and haven't come back and they don't want to at the moment, they are cancelling. So having a strategy to show value is really important. And the brands that commit to taking and personalizing the message will win. And your toning facility, your Shapemaster facility, is perfectly set to create that community feel. And in a way, I'm passionate about customer service. I don't want the businesses to just sell memberships and not deliver. So actually, maybe this is a good thing that's come out of the back of this. We all have to step up and add value and not accept that people aren't attending. We want them to attend and we want them to achieve results. Another change is people have worked out at home more, and there are a lot more options on that, so that, you know, people have the option to work out. But how long do they want to do that? Are they doing that on their own? But they also have the option to connect online, and there's lots of on-demand training that people can do online. And I know Shapemaster specifically shared some home workouts that I think some of you guys used to do at home for those people. For me, this is not a competitor to you. It could be if you don't embrace it, but I think it's part of your member experience. Every new person that joins, the future, the new normal will be that they can use your facility, but I want you to also say, we have online workouts you can use. We have an on-demand supplier that we also work with. We have an app. We have on our website, you know, as a member, if you can't come in, or a customer, we still have options for you. So it becomes part of the member experience rather than a competitor to being within the facility. So if you were doing online stuff while we were shut, have you stopped doing it? Are you still doing it? If you stopped, why? Is there an option to still have that and connect to people if they can't get in for whatever reason? massive uptake on home gyms. Home gym equipment is booming. Peloton now, I don't know if you've seen the television ads, are now doing, the bikes are quite expensive. It's now £45 a month. You get the bike, you get access. But for our demographic that we're looking at here, there is an option for them to do home fitness. But there they don't have the connectivity, that sense of community, the hub, that whole, we're part of a community, and the relationships that you'd get. But you know, that is a competitor to you, that people can do it at home themselves. So all of those things have been going on. And then you look at our specific product of a toning suite. And what I love about the option here for you is that there are a group of people, a demographic of people that generally wouldn't go initially into your normal mainstream fitness environment, have an option to come and connect with like-minded people. They have a support network from the staff. It's very social, but they're working towards results. So there's a staff and customer connection. But what I think a real strong part of the Shapemaster offering that you need to focus on within your marketing as well is the customer to customer support network. These people can have discussions and bounce off each other on long-term medical conditions, similar issues they may have with mobility or getting round, or fearful of getting fit and active. So that connection social side then becomes a hub and a community within your center. And actually, you should be able to do your initial drive to get memberships, and then through referrals and relationship building, it should grow. So I really think the new normal, these suites are perfectly set for you then to be able to connect. And there will be people, as we now start to go through the next few months, where people have more and more confidence to come back. This product is perfect for them. So using testimonials like Ben does at Lincoln are crucial to really that validation that people are coming back. So I think the key is to really drill into the data. Look at who your customers were before COVID, before lockdown. You know, on your normal memberships, on your Shapemaster suites, who were they? Age, where they lived, social groupings, who's actually come back. So out of your 1,000 members you might have had pre-lockdown, if you've got 600 have come back, who are the 600 that have come back? What type of personas and personalities? Where do they live? Who are they? But who are the 400 that have left? Why have they left? Is there a certain age, a certain demographic group, a certain segment that have actually left? What's the reason for that? Can you adjust your program? Can you adjust your offering, your pricing? Can you, to make sure you still connect with those, and then go for it? But I think go back and don't accept that you're gonna be the way you were before 100%. Make some changes. Cool. So that's on time, I think, John. So I wanted to hand over to Ben to kind of share with you a story about the delivery at Lincoln, because I think you've got the most members nationally, I think, Ben, and just the good things that you're doing over there. So can I hand over to Ben? Do I need to?
Participants, and just unmute Ben.
Yeah, cool. There we go. I can't get to Teams. Can you undo it, John? I can't seem to.
You need to make me host again. So.
I can't get into. I can't get into Teams.
It's Zoom.
So stop sharing. Into Zoom. Here we go. And then I am going to move over to Ben. Is that right? Ben's host. Is that cool? Yeah, there you go.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. I know when we had a conversation yesterday, we touched upon many of the points you've already covered. And as you said, for us, it's reopening was about learning from what went well before and the strong points, and really focusing on our core membership base rather than focusing on trying to generate new members. We pre-lockdown, we were about 470 members using the toning suite, or had come through the toning suite and transitioned onto other areas. At Links Inspire, we see the toning suite as an integral part of the centre, not just as a standalone entity, and I think that was the key of our journey. We realised early on that, you know, with these 470 members, we had about 200 spaces a week for people to attend, so we knew we had a problem straight away, and we decided to open on reduced hours because we made the centre a shielded hub. When we'd been talking to a lot of our customers throughout lockdown, and we've been talking to people, our partners and things, a lot of things that we was aware of is that this core group weren't catered for. This over 50s, long-term medical conditions, disability, were coming into an environment where they'd been shut away for such a long time with no contact or minimal contact with the outside world. They'd been shielded, and they didn't necessarily have the confidence to come back to a community setting. Some of them weren't even going to local supermarkets to get the shopping. People were delivering to them. So we made a decision early on to keep this centre that we run at Grimsby as a shielded hub, so only open to over 50s, long-term medical conditions and disability, with the toning suite right at the heart of that, and right at the heart of that member journey. We were running on reduced opening times. Like I say, we had 200 slots a week, but actually we saw over 250 members return, and that's because of the work we was doing before lockdown in terms of transitioning members from the toning suite into other areas as well. So these non-traditional members working in gym environments, working within classes such as low impact circuits, low impact dance, that sort of thing. So for us, it's about building the whole package, and it goes back to that point you made about value and providing value to the customer. For us, it's about providing a wider package. When we came to reopen, one of the key things we did was the team that usually work with our customer base, we asked them to contact every single member that uses a toning suite or was on a toning membership to touch base, because they have such a good connection with them, and people just wanted to hear their voices, hear a familiar person and talk to them about their welfare and what their concerns were coming back. And it was really good that our team were able to do that, because they could kind of put at rest some of those concerns about, you know, I've been shut away for so long, why should I come back? What is going to entice me back? A lot of the messages we heard when we were speaking to these people were that they've done very little during lockdown, that their mobility had decreased, their health had decreased, so that real deterioration, but they wanted to get back, they wanted to get to the point they were before. And I think that's something that we were keen to try and promote. Another thing, like we said, we did some of the virtual stuff, but we know that this client group doesn't always have access to the infrastructure to watch that. Our average age is 66 for our membership base, but we've got people in late 80s, early 90s attending the toning suite on a weekly basis, and some of these people don't have access to those means. So we had to look at things. We know we're not perfect in what we've done reopening. We know we haven't got it completely right. We know there's still a long way to go, but we need to draw upon what were our strengths before. We need to learn from those, we need to develop those, and we need to push those forward. And for us, it was more about retaining a client base than driving new membership. The membership will come from the new members will come from the membership base we've already got. We've not promoted a toning suite for the last 5 years. It's just grown through word of mouth, through referral systems, that sort of thing. We started off with about 25 members, 6 years ago when I first started, and we're up to, like I say, 470 now, and we are at capacity. The next stage for us is expanding to a new suite, increase equipment that will push us up towards the 600-700 mark in terms of membership. That's our next stage. But really for us, the key thing about getting back was, as we said, every customer is not a number. That you have to look at numbers in terms of finances, in terms of growth and development and that sort of thing. But every customer has a story. Every customer has their own goals, and it's important that we see them as individuals. We work with them. We build that relationship. That's why in the toning suite we have such a good retention rate, because of those relationships. I think we can learn that on the other side of the business in terms of the gyms, the fitness element, that sometimes you don't have that engagement, sometimes you don't have those relationships, and that's why we see such a vast change of turnover of membership. You know, members that might stay for 3 months and then just drop off. Toning members for us have been here, some of them 10, 15 years. They really buy into the product, but then they've also developed onto other things. So I think that's important, to engage with your customer, understand them and what their needs are, listen to them, create an environment where they feel comfortable, they feel confident. These generally are non-traditional gym users. Don't put the barriers up and the stereotypes up about what they need to wear and what they need to do when they come in. Let them dictate that, let them feel comfortable when they come in. And really just continue to work with them and create those social networks. That's the key thing that Toning Suite created. We had a choice: do we work with the toning beds, or do we work with the toning chairs when we come back? And the option was 100% toning chairs, because they encourage the social market, the social interaction that is vital for members. And as Paul touched on, it's about discussing their journeys, what they've been through with others, and learning from that. And you know, whether that's their health journey, whether that's a lockdown journey, whatever it might be, those social interactions are important for us. So yeah.
That's great, thanks Ben. No, I appreciate your time to share. It's a fascinating story. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling at the moment to reopen facilities and get members back, but it sounds like you've sort of nailed it and got the vast majority on the right track. I know everyone else is on mute, so you can all shout questions, but again, please use the chat if you've got any questions, and we'll field them at the end. I've got a quick one. You mentioned about there isn't really a direct sales strategy. You've just recruited members from referrals things. Do you have a strong health referral scheme? Has that made a big impact, or is it individual members referring people?
About 40% of our membership is through the referral scheme. So we've got good links with our referral network, something that we're continuing to grow. We get around about 500 referrals per year across all our sites. But the majority of the toning members come from word of mouth, from people talking about it, whether that's coming to have a little tour around it, or my friend said about using this has been really beneficial to her, and it's those sort of things. So for us, the members do the selling for us. They're the key people. We don't have to force it on anybody, try and have a sales pitch or anything like that. You know, our members can talk for us. They can sell it for us, and that's been the key for the last 5 years. One of the important things for us is just come and have a look. Come and have a look at what the facility does. Come and have a tour. Come and have a try of some of the machines and see if you like it. And like I say, when people do come have a look around the centre, when people do come and see the toning suite and what it's actually about, whether that is a potential new customer, or whether that is a health practitioner, a GP, whoever it is, they really see the benefit of it. And our members in at the time will talk to them and tell them about their experiences and how it's benefited them, and you know, and that sort of thing. And we are big on. I mean, the only thing we really do marketing wise is through social media, but doesn't necessarily hit this client group. But it's more around testimonials and case studies to promote the wider centre offer as well.
Okay. Thanks, Ben. Really appreciate your time again. If you go to participants and make David Heathcote the host. Perfect, thank you. David, can you hear me?
I can, yes. I'm on the host now.
Yes, yeah, you're coming through.
Oh, thanks. It's great to hear from you, Ben. And you know, you've built such an amazing suite at Grimsby, and I've sectioned my presentation in two parts, and the first is about health and well-being, and you have you've really mastered that in the suite and really helped hundreds of people over the years to improve their lives because of the work you're doing. But the other part of my presentation is about the commercial side of a Shapemaster suite and the concept of blue ocean territory. And I think you in Grimsby and other sites around the country, such as in GL1 in Gloucester, for example, you've really embraced new ways of getting people into health and fitness and into leisure centres, particularly through the powerful work you've been doing with the referrals routes. And that for me is really, that is blue ocean territory, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's great to see so many on the call. I can see our friends from Pendle are here. Pendle has just celebrated I think it's in its 11th year now, and they've just upgraded. So welcome to our friends from Pendle. I think I can hear you shouting. Yeah, and it's good. Yeah, it's just good to see you here, and also people who are interested in this really important segment that the leisure sector needs to embrace. If I just share my screen, what I'm going to do first is to talk about some research that our marketing manager Carissa has led on, which is fantastic. So Carissa is constantly asking our end users, your customers, for how they feel about the benefits of using coming into leisure centres effectively and exercising. So this is a study which is not released yet to the sector. We'll be releasing it tomorrow. But when I just talk through it, if you'd like a copy of this in advance or at any time, if you just put your email address in the chat box, or just email us, and we'll make sure you have that. Maybe Carissa, you could put your email address in there so that people know how to get a copy. So this is Carissa's work and the impact of para-assisted exercise for the 65+ market. We got responses from 172 users across 8 facilities. As you can see, there's a weighted split towards females, which is typical of a Shapemaster suite. So we're asking them questions about the behaviours. We're looking at the demographic profiles, and we were looking at health and well-being impact. But if I can just show you this this part to the left here, exercise participation. This for me is an incredible number. We're looking at power-assisted exercise weekly uses. So this is the number of times a Shapemaster or a Tony Suite member is attending per week. And you can see that over 75% of the members are attending 3 or more times a week. So that means, because our suites operate in a timed circuit, that means around 90 to 150 minutes of exercise per week just from that suite, which of course is in line with government guidelines on our weekly exercise. And that's just the exercise that our members are doing there. So never mind what it empowers people to do afterwards. This is what people are doing 3 to 5 times a week, 3 or more times a week, sorry. I'd never go to my gym that many times. It's always incredible to see how this market, the over 65s, and in typical Shapemaster suites, the membership is from 55 upwards, but the average age tends to be 66, 67. But to have people going to a leisure centre 3, 4, 5 times a week, it is incredible. If I just scroll down, we made some key observations from this research. 70% of people who responded to the survey said that they can move better, which is incredible. And when you see the types of people who go in who haven't really exercised for years, who are coming to exercise because of the toning suites there. So people over 65 who say they can move better can only be a good thing for society, for the whole of society. Need people to be doing this. 33% here say that their mobility has improved. So this is their own feelings about this. And that matches with a few years ago, the Oklahoma State University did a study of our equipment. And so that was a perception, a feeling that 33% say that their mobility has improved. In the Oklahoma study, which was a measured mobility exercise, they said that 22% observed greater mobility. But if people feel that their mobility is improving, that will have a wider impact. If you look across here, I generally feel better. 68% of toning members say that they generally feel better. And that's just an amazing number and an amazing thing to be able to say. And it's both health and physical and mental well-being as well that we're looking at. And then here, 24%, so around a quarter, say that their social life has improved. So some, of course, are maintaining their social life through the suite and also through the relationships that they generate whilst being in the suites. But 24%, about a quarter, say that it's actually improved. So we're very proud of these sorts of statistics. As I say, if you'd like a copy of this, let us know. Put your email in the chat box or email us privately, and we'll make sure that Carissa's email is in the chat box as well. Just going back up here, we were talking about social inclusion, social isolation earlier. And just remind ourselves that 75% of people surveyed attend a suite 3 or more times a week. And when I went to visit a suite in Folkestone some time ago, I met some of the members as they were waiting to go into the suite. And I just asked them if they enjoyed using the suite. And they said, we love it, but it's 50% exercising our bodies and 50% exercising our mouths. And that is absolutely what we see all around the country. I know that Ben sees that and Ian sees that in Grimsby. Everywhere we go, in the social vibrance of the suites is amazing. I've got some amazing stories to tell where I've probably left the room blushing from visiting Ramsgate, Your Leisure's Ramsgate Centre, for example. They had three ladies there who were, I think they called them the Troublesome Three or something. And they were hilarious, and there's a really good vibrancy around the social life of a Shapemaster suite. But this is really important because loneliness is a huge problem for us, for society. And if you'd like to take a look at our blog on our website, we released a blog, I think it was in May. And it's entitled "A New Report Demonstrates Strong Social Engagement." And this has some, I think, pretty heartbreaking numbers on it, or in some ways scary numbers. So you'll see on that blog, the health risks of loneliness. I'm just going to read a few out to you. This was a study done in 2010. Loneliness, living alone, and poor social connections are as bad for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. What an amazing thing to think. Loneliness is worse for you than obesity. That was from the same study. And then in various studies from 2006, 2011, 2016, lonely people are more likely to suffer from dementia, heart disease, and depression. And finally, in a more recent study, loneliness is likely to increase your risk of death by 29%. So it's really important, the fact that those like Ben and those like our friends in Pendle and down in Sheppey, Serco Leisure Suite in Sheppey, and all the several sites that we have with Everyone Active, and all of our sites around the country, it's really important that half of the benefit of our equipment is social, physical contact and chatting with people, the social life. And that's something that we're very proud of, and we want to make sure that that our suites remain socially vibrant. I'll just show you another important statistic here. So you can see here a UK Active statistic. This was from their Reimagining Aging report, which you can still get from UK Active's website. This was fantastic. If you could get over a third of inactive over 55s active, their analysis shows that that we would save £7.7 billion for the NHS. So that's through reducing diabetes, helping people prevent and reduce strokes, the reduced number of GP visits, for example. We've talked about depression and dementia, and even colon cancer. So just getting a third of over 55s active, as a sector, we would be doing an amazing, providing amazing value to society. And I remember at a UK Active National Summit, the Chief Executive, Sir Simon Stevens of the NHS, stood in front of us all, in front of the sector, and said, "You are the front line of the NHS. We, the leisure sector, are the front line of the NHS." And that's an important role. And so it's great that so many, all of you here are here because you're interested in how the leisure sector can help the older exercisers into your centres. And so you're providing, not only providing new income for your centres, but you're providing a massive service to society. In our centres around the country, we're really proud that we know that we're helping to make this happen. I'm thinking of a lady in the Margate suite who came as part of a pre-op exercise procedure. She was about to have a knee operation, and she came as part. She was instructed to go and do exercise as part of pre-op, and she actually cancelled the operation because by doing her exercises in their feel-good centre, she didn't need the knee operation anymore. In another blog on our website, it talks about the new suite at Ivy Bridge, and you can see there that Shirley, who exercises there, she's lost 23 inches from her body, including 6 inches from her waist. So I wonder how good she feels, the fact that she's engaging in exercise and she can see and feel results like that. And we're also doing excellent work internationally. Our equipment's being part of a solution to help reduce diabetes, which is a national problem in one of our export countries, and also for obesity. So it's important, the health side, that we're helping to deliver. Incidentally, on the new Ivy Bridge suite that's just opened, Carissa messaged me earlier to remind me that Ivy Bridge, since reopening, as Woody would say, since unlocking those sites, they've seen a 25% increased uptake. So increase in new members they've seen 25% more members come to their site since lockdown. So that's an amazing thought. So that just takes me on to just the last couple of minutes about the commercial benefits. And I'm just going to show you something that is really, I find really interesting. This idea of blue ocean. So most leisure centres, all of your competitors, are competing for a share of the same 15% of people who would normally buy a gym pass or a leisure membership. The same 15%. So that is classed as red ocean in this terminology, because it's all the sharks feeding on the same pool, which turns the ocean red. Whereas those who are thinking about this older market, this what I call the new generation of exercisers, they're sailing out into blue ocean territory. So they're not really in a competitive area. They are going out and literally bolting on to their membership, 300 or 400 brand new members that wouldn't normally have come to their own centre, but that their competitors are not even thinking about. And then when Ben was talking, it made me think that Ben and people, you know, centres like Ben's are also they're even more further enhancing their blue ocean strategic move by thinking that actually we can get more members by having a really strong referral route. So they're even further into the blue ocean than just simply having a suite. So they're maximising their blue ocean opportunities. And as Woody was saying earlier, COVID is showing us that we need to do things differently. And that's what COVID's showing us, that we mustn't go back to the old normal. We must really embrace what COVID has shaken up, how it's shaken up our society. So just a couple of things that I've been thinking about. In 2018, the financial journal Barron's described spending by the over 65s as the longevity economy. And they referred to it as the mother of all untapped markets. So this is your blue ocean opportunity, the mother of all untapped markets. And even UK Active, on looking at their surveying leisure centres, even they have said that there's a I think it's a 12% gap between the over 55s population in society and the membership of leisure centres. So there's a gap, and there's your blue ocean opportunity by embracing those that older market. And this market is growing. It not only exists now for your blue ocean strategic move, it's actually growing. So there's currently around 12 million people over the age of 65, which relates to around 18% of the population. But this figure is expected just by 2030 to increase to 22%, which is a population approximately the size of London. So why don't we all make sure that we're going out and getting our market share of that population, whilst the competitors, those boutique gyms, all those other competitors, while they can stay focused on this 15%, but we need to look further out into the blue ocean. And in 2014, Saga reported that the over 50s accounted for around half of spending on health, recreation and culture, alcoholic beverages, restaurants and hotels. Over half was the spending by the over 50s. And consumer spending in the over 50s has consistently outstripped the spending of younger age groups. So there's another indicator that this is a really important market. And this news gets better for those of us who focus on the over 50s. There's a report that says the over 50s account for over 76% of the nation's financial wealth. 76% is incredible. So again, we've got to go out into the blue ocean and capture this more of this market. And here's an important thing for now, that following the last economic downturn, following the last recession, the over 50s were considered to be the most important group for lifting the UK out of recession. And I believe that this is what we need to think for leisure centres, that let's focus on this older group to help us get out of a financial downturn that we are suffering right now. So in the last economic downturn, the over 50s accounted for over 44% of UK household expenditure, That was in 2009, and by 2012 this grew to 47%. So it's a big opportunity that we have. For Shapemaster, the reason that the older members are clearly keen to come back is because what Woody was saying and what Ben was saying is that, you remember the image with the chains being broken. They're finally free to go out and do something and break that chain, break that unlocking chain. And a centre and also they're also more certain of their income. They know where their income's coming, which is why I visited a centre very recently. And of the memberships that hadn't been lost, 80% of the retained Shapemaster members had unfrozen their memberships. That's compared with about 35% of the traditional members, that 15%. 80% had unfrozen their memberships. And that's because they just want to get out and they know they're secure of their income. So our customers, Shapemaster operators, are bolting on and retaining 300 to 400 new members. So this, in some centres, could be adding on another 25 to 30% or more of new memberships that the competitors aren't focused on. And they're seeing this as a vital emergence from their COVID business disruption. So it's a solid and reliable income stream. And since August, I've been really busy on the future. And I've been asked by many other leisure operators and our existing customers to create more business cases, to do a demographic analysis and financial projections about what a Shapemaster suite would mean for them. And so it does show that the sector is really thinking about this 55 plus market. And if I can do that for you, if you have a space in your leisure centre where you think, could it work for me? Drop me a line and I'll talk to you and I'll create a business case for you. But just finally, I just want to show you that this is what it's really about. Of all the financial benefits that attracting the older market brings, this is what it means. This is Joan from Sheppey, and this is an image from Sheppey Leisure's annual awards. But it's about making people's lives better. You can see here that Joan said that the health studio there, it's helped her get her life back. And she was so proud to receive an award at Swale Leisure, the Serco site down in Sheppey, for the impact that she'd had on her own health, and also being a great ambassador for Shapemaster. As Ben said, you don't need to sell a Shapemaster suite, the members will sell it for you, and Joan's a great ambassador for that. But people like Joan are what it's really about, and we're really proud of that. So thanks very much for listening to me. Finally, Woody has got his Magic 5 Plus top tips for your marketing. So I will just hand over to Woody. There we go. Thanks very much.
Okay, cool. Thank you, David. Cool. I'm going to, just before I pick up on some of the things you talked about, David, there, which is fantastic. Some of the stats are amazing. Do you want to share? I couldn't unmute myself, Ben, when we were speaking, but I wanted to ask you a question, if that's all right. Yeah, that I think came out yesterday that we were speaking about, which was, and you mentioned it in your little bit earlier, was that, and I've been sceptical about this, is the amount of people that would transition to other parts within the facility, but generally most people would stay within the Feel Good suite or the toning suite. What were the other activities that you've done to enable them to start to do other things, if you like, within your more mainstream fitness environment? You said low-level circuits or something. Just, can you share some of those? Because I think that would be really helpful for some of the guys of how you've got them out of the suite as well. So,
Woody, can you go to participants and just unmute Ben?
Yes, of course I can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it says, can you speak, Ben, now?
Now, yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things we did a few years ago when our Tony Suite was getting to capacity, certainly during the day, was just look at the wider offer, and listen to our members about what some of their concerns were about going on to other things, and why they wouldn't enter a normal gym environment, and things like that. So we put on transition classes to engage them, even if it's just walking for 10 minutes on a treadmill. It's still something that they wouldn't normally engage with. We put on 6 weeks courses with our fitness team, which work across both areas, so they've got that regular connection, that relationship already. In the gyms, to do things like a structured gym session, which is basically a circuit around the gym for, say, 6 to 10 people, that would normally be using a Tony Suite, but they'll go with their friends in a social connected group, to engage in a gym environment with support, with the help. And we really saw that work quite well, and people stayed in the gym and did maybe one session in a gym and one in a Tony Suite, or 2 sessions in the Tony Suite and an extra gym session. So the idea was that we need to look at this wider offer to help us increase our capacity, help us allow new members to come through and not just stagnate with our membership. What we've done around this time is we've gone back to those transition sessions, because a lot of people have lost the confidence about going back to the gym, especially when they've been shut down for so long, away from those sort of like, they were confident enough to come into the Tony Suite where they've got those friends and that sort of stuff, but they wasn't confident to go in the gym where there wasn't necessarily that social environment. So we put on 5 structured gym sessions a week, so 1 hour per day. Our capacity in the gym was 20, and we pretty much max capacity for every single session, which was the first time for any gym session across the company. Some gyms obviously have a higher capacity and that sort of things, 28, 22, I think the other 2 sites are, but they were getting, say, 12 to 15 on a regular basis. We hit 20 straight away, which was max capacity, and that's continuing every single week now. Other things are like low impact circuits. Before lockdown, we was getting about 70 people to them in our sports hall. These are 70 people that are non-traditional gym users that will come from the Tony Suite. So you're over 50s, even over 60s, over 70s, ladies, gents that would come to a low impact circuit for an hour, twice a week. And then this time around, because we're not using equipment, in classes and things like that, we've looked at other options. So our sports development team, which I oversee as well, are engaging as much in the community. So we're doing it in-house, we're doing it in our sports hall, and we're doing things like Tai Chi, low impact dance, seated chair, curling, other activities that really enrich the program that we're currently offering.
Wow, and I think that's great to hear. I think there's a lot of people I know who are on the call who run, and generally there isn't that connection with the, if you like, your normal fitness team, your sports team. It's kept quite isolated. So, it's really exciting to hear. Actually, it's good for me. This kind of inspired me when we spoke yesterday, that I'd kind of thought, no, there isn't a transition. It's such a small amount of people, but actually, to get the numbers you've got and to keep them coming, having connection to other facilities and that team sounds as though it's really worked. So. And I saw that you put a note about, if anyone's got any questions. I'm sure you'll get a few on that actually, Ben, after that, because that's really cool. So good, thank you. I appreciate that. That's good.
No problem.
No worries. Right, so I'm gonna share my slide, my screen. Cool. Okay. Here we go. Right, so I just wanted to give you some marketing tips specifically for an older demographic, and to give you some things to take back. Again, not too long, but also taking on board some of those great things David shared there, some of those stats that within the report Chris has done, which is amazing. 70% of people felt they'd moved better, 68% said that they felt better. These are really powerful messages that you could put out, within your marketing messages to people to really resonate with them. 25% of the people surveyed felt that their social life had improved. So one thing I would definitely suggest you do is to do your own version of that study, you know, in the same way. Have your own stats. There's national stats as well, but you know, they're really powerful. The lady that David's shared some stats on, that she'd lost X amount of inches, 6 inches off her waist. These things are really, really powerful. And I think if you share those within your marketing messages, it will resonate with people and make a big difference. But the key really is to have a plan and know who you're going after in terms of marketing messages and the campaign that you're putting out. Ben was lucky enough to say he's not done much marketing. It's been referrals, but and people talking about their experience, but they'll be talking about key things. They'll be sharing what's going on. But for you, until you're in that position that your members can feed you in that way, you need a game plan to go and promote. And so having a clear plan and using data from who you've attracted, where they're from, and how that works will make a big, big difference. Have all the team being involved to then really look at how the messages are going out there. And you know, are you changing the messages as things happen regularly? And you know, does your plan you know, allow that to happen? So you know, each week, each month, are you looking at who you're targeting, what's going out, whether it be digitally or on traditional marketing, which I'm going to talk about a second, and then talk to the team about who's responding, what's working. But the key thing to having a plan is what's your driver. And ultimately it comes down to numbers again, like we talked about before. We want to treat people as individuals, but you need to know how many sales you want. You know, where do you want your brand positioned? Who do you want to see it? If you're going to get leads, what do you want them to come and do? Is it a taster session, a trial? Do you want them to leave their details? Probably not. This elder demographic are probably more reluctant to leave their details, where actually coming for a taster session and experience it with a friend will give them the confidence to want to come in. But you need a plan, and not just a tick box plan that you do every month the same, something you're looking at, talking to the team and evolving. And then this slide kind of talks about how you use data, and generally we go to the third option, the green circle, and think, right, how are we going to get this out there? Right, we're going to do some social media, maybe we might do some e-marketing. We might, for this demographic, we might start doing some adverts. We might do some post leaflet distribution or go to events. But we start with how are we going to get this out? And on normal marketing, we generally do that as well. But we should go back to the beginning of who are we trying to target? So please go back and do that review. Who were your customers before lockdown? Really analyze who they were, what groups, where did they come from, and now look at who's come back, and really drill into trying to understand why, and getting your staff to talk to customers as they are coming back about how they feel, why they've come back. For the people that then aren't, if you've reached out to them, you know, Ben said that they'd called most of their customers and stayed connected. That then flows into what sort of content's going to resonate with them. You know, what sort of blogs and articles and information and testimonials do you need to get out to press the right buttons for people? And an older demographic are much more likely to read blogs and articles, to research things on health conditions and how to overcome certain things. So a younger demographic who are just embracing content all the time and, you know, flipping from one thing to another, read less information because they've moved on. Whereas an older demographic will digest that information. They will embrace the content and then respond. So it's really important that you use the data that you've got out there and then shape some really positive content, and getting your teams to, you know, to write blogs, to write articles, or tap into some of that information that David's given you, or nationally is coming out, or through your partnerships with, you know, with sports development or your GP referral schemes, and really share information that inspires people to want to get involved. Then you can look at the channels. Me and John talked about this yesterday when we were talking about the session, and you know, there's your digital route, and then there's the more traditional marketing. And I kind of wrote down some notes as Ben was speaking, that his average age was 66, and that yet there were 80 to 90-year-olds that possibly won't be seeing digital marketing. And to a point, that's true. And so we need to look at how do we connect with those people that aren't going to see your digital output. But there are a massive percentage of that group who are now, locking onto or using social media, YouTube, they're searching for information, do have access to the internet. So you have to have a mix. The one thing I would also say is those people, the 83-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 90-year-olds have family. And they have family who are seeing content daily that then may inspire them to see a story to bring their grandparents or parents along to your facility. So it's about getting a mix and really tracking what's working and what's not. But because they're an older demographic, I don't want you to rule out digital marketing. Yes, you should have your more traditional, mail shots to people, tapping into partners, phoning, outreach, all of those kind of things, attending events, relationships with doctors, surgeries. But digital does work. And I'm going to show you some key stats that John provided for me. Facebook is probably, from paid for advertising that we put out, is the biggest channel we use. 20% of all Facebook users are above 55. So actually we have found with Shapemaster facilities, advertising on Facebook does get a response, and you will get interest through that, and especially if you're putting on blogs and information for people to process. But as I said before, I really believe that a lot of these people's family members are on there as well, and these messages will resonate with them. YouTube has a slightly higher, Twitter has a slightly higher older demographic, and of 23% of their users are above 50 plus. And the great thing with Twitter is that it is like your personal news channel. It's less people sharing that they've just baked a cake or here's a picture of my kids going to school, but it's actually you're following information that you like to digest and see, and articles and blogs and information. So actually 23% of people on Twitter will potentially fit into the demographic of people you're looking at. So putting information on Twitter will make a big difference. But it won't hurt, because if you're creating these blogs and information anyway, why not post? And there's a market out there for you to attract. Now, I did get blown away by this slide yesterday when me and John were chatting about it, because I could really resonate with this with my mother and her and my stepdad and my wife's parents, that they used YouTube loads, mainly on iPads. There's a stat here that 70% of views are on a mobile device, but I'd say all 4 of the people I've spoke about, my mother and father-in-law and my parents' side, all 4 have their own iPad, and they are looking at YouTube. And some big stats there: 58% of internet users that are above 56, 58% of those people are looking at YouTube. So out of all the people who are above 56 that are out there on the internet regularly, over half are using YouTube regularly. And on average, there's the time that someone's spending on YouTube on a visit is 11 minutes. And that really opened my eyes up, because you watch a video and then the algorithms are then sharing other videos for you to look at. So then you explore. And 70% of what people watch is determined by those recommendations. I watch a video, oh, look at these. So if you having an abundance of positive content on YouTube and video testimonials, video that supports the blogs that you're putting out and articles, suddenly if someone's seen that and explored and looked at it, they're going to look at other information. So I think this is growing, and I think YouTube should be a really strong part of your strategy to attract people into your facility, especially for an older demographic. And we were going to do 5 top tips, but then I felt we needed a few more. I think using relatable language is really important. There is a kind of divide, if I look at my teenage sons, even the language I use now compared to my parents, my mum fits perfectly into your demographic. The type of language, the imagery that she'll respond to really will be different to what I'll see. I always find it fascinating as well with relatable images. If you look at the way the cruise business, who've been hit massively by the pandemic, when they do their television adverts, they're targeting an older demographic. They're always just slightly younger, these people, than the people they're trying to attract, to make you know, to give off that portrayal that you know, it's cool to go. And but using the right images, I think, is correct. I think the quality of them as well, sometimes, you know, I've been through a lot of websites recently, and yes, it's great that you've got 2 of your regular members on the machines, but sometimes the photo quality, the way they're done, are pretty poor. So make sure you're using, you know, great pictures, great imagery, but relatable to the people that you're trying to attract. Top tip 6, consider non-digital sales processes. So I talked earlier about data capture, or, you know, people joining online or buying online. Actually, a big chunk of the people you're looking at will probably want to ring you, will probably want to you know, come in and have a taster session and maybe sign up on site. So just because you're going digital for everything else on your sales process doesn't mean to say you have to do that for everything on your Shapemaster suite. Personalize the service. Don't make people feel like a number has been a big message I've given you on everything I've talked about. And introducing people to your members, your customers, through testimonials, which is top tip 9, I think makes a big difference. But also the staff, getting your staff to put out content, get your staff to really be visible, their names, who they are, and that connectivity makes it feel like a community, makes it feel like a hub, a group. And David's stat on, you know, people on average 75% attending three times a week. You know, we know that attendance, habit, and, you know, a commitment makes a difference to retention, but also feeling part of something makes a massive difference. So personalize the service to people and visibly talk about that in your marketing. Use content marketing, articles, blogs, information, videos that links into testimonials. And I love the last one. Remember that they don't feel old, and they probably don't want to feel old. There's sometimes their bodies might, but mentally, in a lot of cases, these people don't feel old. So we want to treat people in a way that they can make a big difference to their life. You know, I'm 45, and I probably look through my eyes feeling I'm still 25, but mentally I feel young, but I know that I need to improve my health and well-being. But don't treat people like they're old. You know, make them feel good about the fact that they're going to get active and make a difference to their life, because now there's never been a more important time to be healthy. Cool. I've got some top takeaways that I wanted to share with you. Personalize your approach. We're going to share these slides so you can have those. Really important, you personalize your approach. Do that for mainstream fitness, but perfect for this. Understand your customers and use data, more important than ever, and let that influence where your gaps in your market are and why people are leaving. Really drill into who's leaving and why, and how can we then go and promote ourselves more. Do you need to change your member journey, how people come through? Tap into Ben's intel on getting people used to, you know, and transitioning to other parts of the centre will make a massive difference. Is there stuff that wasn't working before? Can we change it? Definitely do it. Don't accept the way you were before is good enough. And then these are key. If you're going to have another lockdown, what's your strategy to freeze, unfreeze? What have you learned from what we did before? I've seen a couple of comments in the questions there about, you know, we're on a second lockdown or restricted opening. How do we handle that? You need a game plan. Really review what worked and didn't work before. Links into localized strategy, and embrace the digital offering. Cool. Okay. John, you still there?
Yes, I am, mate. Yep.
That's good. Cool. Right. Let's.
You want to pass the hosting back to myself, or just wrap up?
Yeah, cool. And I'll pass it back.
Thanks to everyone who has attended. We've got about 10 minutes left that we scheduled in, so if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them through the chat. As I said at the beginning, we're recording this session, so we will pass it out, so that the slides will accompany that as well. I've got most people's email addresses from the registrations, but again, if you want to put them in the chat, just to make sure that that information reaches you. I suppose just to wrap up, just 3 things for the 3 presenters. Again, thanks to Ben, Woody and David for sharing their thoughts and taking the time. Ben's put his email address on the chat if you want to get in touch direct. I think the key thing that starts for me is how successfully they've brought back their members with a real individualised service. They've really thought about how to treat each customer as an individual, and I appreciate that's difficult with larger organisations with thousands upon thousands of members, but if we're talking about Shapemaster suites and toning facilities, then there is that opportunity, and the successes, you know, do repay that investment in time that you have to put in to contact people. I think David's point I've jotted down, it's the mother of all untapped markets. I think that's a statement. So definitely if you're on the call and you haven't got a Shapemaster suite, or you're looking at how to explore the older market and attract that group of customers, then there is definitely an opportunity in terms of looking at Shapemaster as a solution. And with Woody's sessions, I think just get in touch with Woody about, you know, opportunities with marketing in general. Anything you want to chat about with promotions, then do so. Let me just unmute a couple of the team so they can just.
Cool.
David.
Yeah, I did see on there one of the John had put about, you know, we've opened and it's stagnated, and I think what we're seeing, you know, is, you know, that it's very easy to be quite fearful and scared that actually things are slow. So your priority is, you know, have you got everyone back that you had before? They're your key focus initially. Who are they? And reach out and have conversations with those people of why they haven't come back, and not really personalize that. And then you do need to fire off an acquisition strategy, and you might, you know, and that's where you need to be quite aggressive if you've got the space to do it. And you know, we've seen probably pretty much every client we've worked with initially, they were going to really have this ease in of members first, and then that acquisition will come straight away. We're going to have to promote, and the people that haven't had to do that is where they have made contact with as many people as possible and really understood their story. It's going to be a really bumpy road over the next few months of when people come back, but the big tip I would have is when people are cancelling or stopping, why, is really get that data. And that's for your normal membership as well. Why are they not coming back? What's the reason? And are there strategies that we can put in place on pricing, different products, usage, time, but not just accept they're not coming back and just try and sell. It's really try and drill into that data and that information. I think is key. Just trying to see if there was any others.
And there was a question earlier on from David. He was just asking about the different customers and segments that have made a return to the toning suite. Have you seen any groups not return in particular, or has it been pretty much a spread of who you had before has come back in?
Yeah, there are groups that haven't returned, obviously, because of the restrictions we put in place as a shielded hub for the site. So those that are under the age of 50 that didn't have a medical condition or disability haven't returned at this stage to this centre, but they've had the opportunity to attend other centres as part of their membership package. So we have seen 1 or 2 that have done that and used gyms at other sites and things like swimming and classes, but predominantly at the toning suite which we're running, it's obviously those that are over the age of 50 with long-term medical conditions, predominantly more women than men, which is what we're seeing probably on a national level for toning anyway. Probably about 75 to 80% are women over the age of 50, and I think the majority have a long-term health condition, and that's the key. It's those that return quicker, those that have been managing health conditions that have deteriorated or not done anything during lockdown and really struggled and they've noticed a difference, and they're the ones that were really keen to return as soon as possible so they can manage their health, so they can either maintain the health in some cases because of the conditions they've got, or improve health where possible and improve mobility so they can get back to other things on a daily basis as well.
How long do you think you'll be keeping those restrictions in place from other members? At what point do you think you'll open up the centre to regular users?
We've started opening up already, so we've opened up after 5 o'clock to all ages. We've kept the daytimes a shielded hub because we're conscious that, you know, the members that have returned are those with long-term health conditions, those with disability, those that are more at risk. That if we had another local lockdown are the ones that would be shielding for a longer period of time and that sort of thing. So we've tried to retain that shielded hub aspect during the day, but then opened up on an evening, and we're now looking at the next stage as to when we open up wider and when we drop that shielded hub aspect, but that will be led by our customer insight and the feedback we're getting. But we also know there is a need to expand and do things back to what we were before to some extent, but learn from what we've learned over the last 2 months or so.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Woody, David, anything to finish before we wrap up?
Yeah, from my perspective, if there's anything we can help you guys with, I think we're doing some really cool video testimonials or any ideas, or you just, like John said, you want to bounce off some ideas, you know, please reach out to us. We'd love to help. Just, you know, just from the fact that we want sites to bounce back. Yeah, we'll share our email addresses. Some of you have got them, but yeah, if there's anything you want any help with, or just a chat, and definitely reach out. That'd be cool.
My final point is that it's part of our mission at Shapemaster is that we're aiming to introduce step one, our first step of the first goal milepost really, is that we'll be introducing an extra £36 million of membership income to the leisure sector in the UK per year, and we'd love others to come on with us on that journey.
Great, thanks, David. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll share the video the next 2 days, but any questions, get in touch in the meantime. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.